You're now listening to Cashed In.
Okay, so today is episode 9 of Cashed In, and today's kind of an exciting day because we have our first guest on Cashed In. His name is Dan Costantino. He's a Pittsburgh native, and he's a super busy guy, so it's pretty awesome that he made time for us today. Dan, do you want to talk about yourself? Just give a little introduction to our audience, what you're all about in terms of real estate, and anything else you'd want to add.
Sure. I'm a kid born and raised in Pittsburgh, and I'm a buy and hold investor. I started out flipping. I had a 17-year career in sales, and real estate started out as a side hustle. It just got to be kind of my passion, and I was doing both for about 5 years, and the company started, messing with my commissions. I'm like, I'm just going to flip houses, So I just wanted to flip, make some extra money, start buying some buy and holds. And then it just kind of snowballed. I left the corporate world at the end of 2018, had a couple flips under my belt, so I knew I was going to be good. At that time, I had 30 units, and now we're up over 400.
Interesting.
Wow.
Sounds like relatable in terms of being in the corporate world and wanting, doing real estate as a side and eventually becoming your full-time gig. So that's kind of interesting. What do you got going on now? What's your latest purchase? I guess we'll start with the present day.
Sure. At the end of November, we purchased a 305 unit portfolio up in Beaver County, and
you said 305.
305.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So prior to that, we had managed 150 units between my buildings and my partner's buildings. I do have a partner in our management company, and like I said, when we started that, I had 30 units. But I think last year, once we bought the 12 unit in Beaver, that was my biggest purchase.
Yeah.
So we were up to about 112 or 110 units, and then we bought the 305. My goal was to be over 200 units by the end of 2021, and obviously we went over 400. So
yeah,
we
knocked
that.
it out of the park.
We were going to fail or succeed with that purchase.
Sure.
So how do you come across 305 units as the opportunity? How does that opportunity present itself?
It's kind of funny, and it's something that you really can't necessarily strategize other than just playing the long game. I've been studying for 2 years to buy apartment buildings that were 100 units or more and do a syndication. So I've been in a mastermind, I've invested in myself, studied for 2 years, and I just was telling people that I was looking for larger properties that were 100 units plus. And a wholesaler that I knew had reached out to me and said, hey, are you interested in 500 units in Beaver County? And I had known who it was because I had been to that person's house before because he's related to one of my good friends and old bosses. So anyway, met with them and built a good rapport because of that relationship and just kind of went from there. But just putting it out in the ether and being intentional on what you're purchasing. A lot of new investors, I tell, if you're going to invest in real estate, put it out there what you're looking for. Don't say I'll invest in anything because no one will know what you're actually looking for. You got to tell people I'm looking for flips in North Hills, right? Or I'm looking for rentals in North Hills, or I'm looking for multifamily. And that's what ultimately got me that opportunity. Now we have another huge opportunity. It's a couple hundred units, so it's pretty exciting.
Wow.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you from that answer is mindset, being ready for it, intention, speaking it out, and almost manifesting it. It's saying this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, and also being educated. So 3 things.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to be educated because a lot of people tell you how. I heard this at the RIA. I spoke at the Pittsburgh RIA on Tuesday.
I saw that.
Did you?
On Facebook.
Chuck Pupich was there, and he made a simple comment. Like, this is kind of like my mantra, but he summarized it way better than I do. He's like, everyone teaches you how to buy real estate and how to invest in real estate. Nobody focuses on how to keep it. And that's a big thing for us.
Good.
That's why we have an integrated group of companies. That's why we have the construction company and the property management company, because I'm big on making sure that we're successful, because over 80% of the people that I buy properties from should not have owned rentals.
Really? So was there some type of value add left in there because they were so screwed up in owning their properties?
So I'll say the 12 units that I bought prior to this Beaver County portfolio were all value add. They were all BRRRR strategies.
Got it.
For the most part.
We just talked about that.
Yeah. with the exception of the 12 units. That really was pretty close to turnkey.
Sure.
So I brought in a partner on that funded the down payment. That was new to me. Typically, it was a burr strategy for me to build my portfolio. This one was my first syndication, but there's a ton of value add. Like we'll definitely force appreciation on this, but there's, as Mike, I mean, there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah,
a lot of room
absolutely.
for improvement.
Well, so I actually want to take it back, because a lot of our viewers are actually just looking to get into it. You know, how do I finance my first deal? I've enjoyed a lot of the content that you've posted, on your Facebook page, and I had read something, and you correct me if I'm wrong, your first property, I don't know how old you were when you first purchased it, or what was that driving force to make you take that first step. But I get asked all the time, how do I come up with the money to finance my first property? And I believe you said, did you take out a HELOC, or how did you do that? Okay.
Yeah, I was 35 years old, so I was fairly established. I had a great sales job, sales executive. My wife had a strong job at UPMC. She's still there. So we were stable. We had some equity in our house. So linked up with Ron Mangus. He was at the RIA group. So he's really the one that helped finance my first deals, because we got that home equity line of credit. And at that time, you could go on the MLS and find deals.
Sure.
So I found my first foreclosure in Dormont. But again, I was 35 years old, and I had already been studying. I was investing in myself. I went through some of the boot camps and masterminds, and I was ready for it. And I did almost get cold feet and walk away from it.
Is that right?
Yeah, the day before, I almost walked away from $5,000 earnest money deposit.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I took my stepdad through. We went through. He's like, "What's your worst case scenario?" And as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I knew I was being a sissy. We'll call it. We'll be G-rated, okay?
Yeah.
Because I said I would break even if that was the worst case scenario based on the numbers, what I was saying the numbers were. So as soon as I said that, I said I'm going to go through it. I ended up making $27,000 on my first flip.
It was a flip. Okay.
Nice.
Yep.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So
what did you do with that? What did you do with that first 27? Did you just roll it over into the next one, or how did you?
Yep.
Okay.
Just I went into the next one. My next one was in Ingram. Actually did that with a self-directed IRA. That was kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
All the paperwork and requests for draws and stuff like that, paying the bills.
Yeah.
I don't recommend doing that if you use one of the custodians where they really track all that stuff. You can get checkbook IRAs, but I also am weary about that for newer investors, because they don't know how to not disqualify their
Do you get a lot
IRAs.
of that through your syndication? Do you get a lot of self-directed IRA funds? With that, or how do you?
I wouldn't say a lot. I definitely have a good amount of self-directed IRA as investors, either just private lenders, debt positions. There's maybe 2 or 3 self-directed IRAs that invested in our syndication, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
But it's a great asset.
Yeah, one of the podcasts I listened to.
Yeah.
That's like their main strategy. That's what they gravitate towards.
That's how I started hard money lending, was with my self-directed IRA, because I had those old IRAs from my corporate jobs.
Sure.
And I was hard money lending with someone else that I was friends with. I would just kick in every now and again, and then I love that, because lending is a big thing of what I do now.
Yeah, I noticed that. So, what was it that was that driving force to make you take that first step? Did you have a mentor? Was there somebody that you looked up to that was already involved? And
no. I knew nobody. I knew nobody in real
That's
estate.
crazy.
It was just like I went to a success conference with my company that I was with at the time, and like Zig Ziglar's son was there.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
They had a video of Zig Ziglar, and I don't even remember all the people that were there, but they were, those inspirational type people, like John Maxwell and things like that. And someone mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I know it's so cliche, but
I mentioned that on the first one.
It broke my mind. I never
The investor
heard,
manual.
Yeah, I had never heard anyone speak about just money and assets and liabilities like that and break it down so simply, and it changed me forever. So I just started doing audiobooks, and I listened to every Bigger Pockets podcast, and that's really what I would think perpetuated my desire to get into real estate.
Yeah, it's fear. That's the biggest hurdle. I preach it myself all the time, because I'm scared to take it to the next level with my investing. I'm more of a flipper at this point. I have a couple units, but in terms of leveraging, we talk a lot about HELOCs and types of loan products and leveraging them. And I'm fully capable. Sometimes I'm afraid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have to ask you, well, I could ask you right now. So how do you getting rid of that fear is removing what's unfamiliar to you.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And certainly I grew up, I mean, my mom never made a lot of money. My dad never made a lot of money. She was a bartender. He was a factory worker. They all had great credit scores. So like I was taught not to over leverage myself. I was more on the Dave Ramsey type, plane.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like so anti.
Then you're
Not
Robert
for most
Kiyosaki.
people. I think most people that makes sense. But that's not how he uses leverage. I don't care what he says.
Yeah.
But for me, I love leverage. I
Yes.
hate having, like, I bought my wife's fun car paid off in cash, and I'm just looking at it, I'm like, that's stupid. So I went out and got a loan on it. Like, I love leverage because I'd rather have those dollars because I know how to invest. I know how to make double-digit good returns.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay off. I mean, I can get a 3 to 5% interest rate. So why?
It depreciates anyway. You could put it into a multi and it's going to make you money.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm big on leverage, and I have so many calculators. So the numbers tell me what to invest in, and ultimately at the end of the day, if I can collect an asset for free doing the BRRRR strategy,
Yeah.
not have any money in,
Collect an asset for free.
yeah.
Okay.
So BRRRR out of it. So if I always borrow private money, it's and I buy it and fix it up. It's less than what I'm cashing out on the refi, right? So I have the asset for free. Of course, I have a liability, but I'm either taking money out or not having any money into it. So I have an infinite return because I have no money into it, right?
Right.
So if I can collect an asset for free and it can cash flow, I don't care if it's just a small amount. I'm doing that deal all day long.
Okay.
So now I'm just trying to do it on a bigger level.
I was just dealing with a brand new client and investor. He's new in the game, and he was leveraging his house, taking the equity out of his house to fund the down payment and then borrowing the rest. And he's very nervous, and it's almost like, how do I translate to someone brand new? Don't be afraid. If you can acquire an asset for free with no money, how and to get a return on it, you would do that all day long.
I would do that.
I'm gonna clip this and send it to him.
I would put a little different spin on that because using my short-term money, either my unsecured lines of credit or my home equity line of credit, my goal is to get that money back. So whereas it sounds like he's looking to leave that in as his down payment.
Right.
So there's a big difference there. I might not do that deal unless it was super turnkey because
Yeah, he could. It's cash flowing.
okay.
Yeah.
So I would do that deal. But my goal is to get in, do the value add, and get my money out, and not have any money into it.
Got it. Okay, that's a cool strategy. Interesting. We talked a little bit yesterday, and I want you to talk about. I don't know if that was the first story you told, but the accident where the banker said, "Are you sitting down?" Can you tell that story?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I had a property I had chased down for a year. They called in on one of my letters. I think this was around 2014 or something.
You're talking
like
as
that.
a wholesaler, right?
Flipper. I was looking for houses.
So you
to
sent out
flip.
letters, okay, and someone responded.
Sent out some yellow letters. He called me. He lived in New York. He was going to fix it up. Never did. This is one block from Children's Hospital. It was in Garfield. I ended up picking it up for $27,000, which is stupid.
insane.
Yeah.
Like now,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got a hard money loan on it from one of my friends. I don't remember if it was $90,000 or $95,000, but we fixed it up. And when we went to refi it, the banker, as I told you, called me and said, "Hey, are you sitting down?" I'm like, "Crap, I didn't," because those values weren't.
Yeah,
it was not
right.
Lawrenceville. It was not Bloomfield. Like
Yeah.
Garfield was its own little subset. Even though it was one block from Children's, it still was a little sketch. And so, long story short, she said, "Hey, are you sitting down?" I'm like, "I'm not sure I'm going to get the appraisal. How much money?" I'm trying to get all my
Yeah,
money
right.
out. Right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my investor paid off.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
she was like, it appraised for $200,000.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? She's like, how much do you want to take out?
Oh.
Yeah.
So initially, I was just trying to get like the 95
Just
out
to
or
get- yeah,
100.
right.
So I did, again, I think I was probably a little conservative there. Now I would have taken out more, but I took out a loan for $120,000 on it. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I rented out from $1,600 from the day
Wow.
we started renting.
Do you still have it?
Oh yeah, still have
You
it.
still have it?
We
That's
refied
awesome.
it. Yeah, we refied and
yeah,
pulled
when
more money out
yep.
to put in on the syndication. I told you I had 3 houses or 3 properties that I refied that I've only owned for 6 or 7 years. They all appraised for 3 times what I had into them.
Wow.
It's been insane in Pittsburgh because I always bought stuff with the thinking you don't buy for appreciation. It just it's the icing on the cake. But like 300% is pretty good in short period.
It's amazing that you said that because we have talked quite a bit about this. I used to buy, with the mindset that I was buying cash flow, right? It's like, okay, well, these are the numbers. This is what I'm going to make, not necessarily regardless of the area, because I invest mostly in Beaver County. Okay, but I've kind of stepped out. I just closed on a deal in Bellevue a couple months ago, and what I've noticed is that and it's a rehab deal, so I'm doing the same thing. Like I have my money into it, I'm fixing it up, and I'm going to pull my money out of it, so I have no money in there. So I'm familiar with the strategy that you were talking about, but maybe this is from a podcast I was listening to, but it's amazing how, like, if you do your numbers based on cash flow off of a 12-month period. It's like, okay, this is what I'm projected to make it for 12 months, right? But the appreciation aspect of it, you could grow your wealth way quicker, through appreciation, especially if you put in a little bit of money to do the rehab and that sort of thing. So it's fascinating how, now correct me if I'm wrong, you've said you've pulled equity out of properties multiple times. Is that what you said from the Garfield
2
property?
times, yep.
So 2 times, right?
Yep, there
so
were
pulled it out.
3 properties that I've refinanced for the second time.
Right. So it'd be fascinating to know, the amount of money that you've taken out of it in comparison to what you've made on that property through cash flow. Cash
flow is important to me to make sure that it can pay for itself and even pay back some CapEx.
Sure.
But it is the least important thing besides principal pay down and appreciation now. Now, I used to look at all my models and I would just model out being in Pittsburgh 3%. And it's so far beyond what that is now with the way inflation's happening and everything else, and just Pittsburgh being hotter. But cash flow is important to me to make sure that it's a safe investment, but it's not as important as, number one, collecting the asset for free, meaning I don't have any money into it, or I'm profiting off of it with the tax-free, whatever, the liability, however you want to say it. So that's the most important thing, is collecting the asset without having my cash invested. And then, just the appreciation and depreciation has been a huge benefit. Now that we have 417 units, like you can imagine, like we're 8-figure values that are getting depreciated. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
How much, we can write off without even doing any acceleration on depreciation.
Sure.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting too. So maybe I'll turn the conversation a little bit. With the inflation that you mentioned, everyone who's not in the game keeps saying, when's this crash going to happen? I say it's going to stabilize. I don't like the word crash because we're not having a mortgage crisis. We're having a supply and demand kind of crisis. In the event that it finally stabilizes, what does that do for your investment strategy?
Yep. So I love that question. I actually just made a video that I sent to one of my guys today. But I am all about, number one, the inventory is so low. So I don't see a crash, and even if it does, it is what it is, right? Because my rates are locked in. Even if the interest rates go crazy, like I will have equity into all of these properties. Even though I'm extracting 80% of the appraised value now, I still have 20% equity.
Sure.
So I'm not going to be like underwater on anything.
Yeah, there's a buffer.
Right. But the big game right now is, with inflation, real estate is the perfect hedge, because you're buying something at today's price and everything's inflating, and you're paying it off with devalued dollars 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And it's your tenants' dollars, not even your dollars. So if you get that asset for free, or even if you have 20% in, you're paying off this asset. Today's price gets locked in. You're paying it off with devalued dollars that who knows how devalued they'll be in 5, 10, and 15 years. So even if you buy at market value, I mean, you're still probably going to win. It's just not something you can really scale. So my whole game is I have to buy it below market value for the most part, so that I can keep scaling, because I don't have endless amounts of money.
Sure.
So yeah, as far as your question on appreciation and a crash and interest rates and all that stuff, I'm not super concerned about it. Just buy right. I mean, you do make your money on the purchase, but real estate is a great place to be compared to a lot of other asset classes.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So I want to take it back actually to, you said you started when you were 35, right? So what was it that made you decide? Because it's funny, I'm talking to him and I actually see my future self in many ways.
The same thing, because you're leaving the corporate world.
Even the corporate world.
Yep.
I started investing in real estate, I want to say when I was 25. I'm 31. So, and I still am in the corporate world, sales, right? And ironically, I have 30 units right now, which is where you were when you decided to, throw your briefcase away and go full steam ahead, with real estate. So what was it that, was there a mental shift again? You talked about the original mental shift. Was there something that said, you know what, I could do this, without having to go through worrying about what decisions corporate America is making, or really, quite frankly, the things that are out of your control? What was it that was kind of the breaking point for you, if you would?
I finally got good at finding deals, but really what made me leave a very good paying job was I was cheating on both things, right? I was cheating on my day job and I was cheating on my passion. So I couldn't really go all in on real estate because I was a director of sales for a growing company. It was not a small position, but that was the first job I ever failed at. Oh. I was at the point where I just wasn't doing a good job, and I had enough deal flow that I had 2 lined up flips that I knew were home runs. So yeah, I just said it's time to go all in on myself.
Well, and you had mentioned, I believe, in one of your videos about reverse engineering. Yeah. Right. So, you had decided that, okay, now I'm done. This is how many flips I need to do a year, right? To kind of offset the income that you were losing, right? Yep. So, maybe get into a little bit of that, because, there are people, obviously a lot of the viewers are going to be, okay, how do I take that first step? But there are some people out there, including myself, and I'm actually intrigued in your response. How are you analyzing that in terms of flips? Did you have a strategy that was kind of like different buckets? Like, okay, this is how many flips I'm going to do a year. This is how many buy and holds I'm going to do a year. And I would imagine those were probably the 2 main drivers in your decision making.
So for me, I was going to do it through wholesales and flips, to replace my income. Because again, my whole strategy with the long-term buy and holds are collecting the assets for free. And yes, there's cash flow. And I think, you could easily say, I don't know what I was cash flowing back then in the rentals, but that was not my aim. It was to generate the cash. The first one I clicked up, it was in Robinson. And I think I knew I was going to make 50 or 60 on it. So that was a good chunk. If I could make, if I could do 3 to 5 more, 25 to 50,000, like it was easy for me. Sure. Cause I was between like 140 and 200, depending upon the year. Okay. I'm pretty open about that.
Great money. Yeah.
So that was easy to back into, do a few wholesales. The rentals, I've never lived off the cash flow. I've always just reinvested that money.
Okay.
So there's going to be a furnace that breaks. There's going to be a roof that goes. Sure. So I just collect that money and I put it in, and I will, go through the holding company or distribute it to what entity needs it for the CapEx. But I'm never really looking to live off the cash flow on any of my rentals, even how big we are now. It's more the active income that I'm living off of. So right now it's flips. We'll do a few flips. We have the contracting company, so we'll generate cash that way. Through like kitchens, baths, and basements. We do very few of that because we're kind of embroiled in this big portfolio. And then the hard money lending is kind of like my consistent salary, because I put those loans out and every time I go to sleep, we're earning interest. So that's the consistent money that's coming in. But yes, look at what you make. How many flips you're going to do? I mean, it's, most people don't make even $100,000. So like anyone making, $30,000 to $70,000, I think that it's easier for them to break out than it is someone with a higher paying salary or commission job. So that's how you would reverse engineer it. How much are you going to make a flip or a wholesale? Wholesalers are making almost as much as the flippers are right now on a spread. So how many deals what do you need divided by how many deals, you have to calculate what your average profit per deal is. It's pretty easy to back into, I think. And it's just not that. I think people overcomplicate and get caught up in the fear of it. Yeah. And it is hard to find deals though. but you're also not going to find deals if you're not dedicated to it. I think a good way to find deals is really driving for dollars is a good way to get started for a lot of people, especially if they don't have a big marketing budget. And focusing again on those neighborhoods that you like. You're focused on Beaver County, right? Like you can really focus. Yeah, it's about your intention. So there's not a clean mathematic formula for it, but I think it's more simple than people make it.
Right. Well, so how do you structure those deals then? With through your syndicate or through you're doing a lot of hard money, right?
Okay.
So how are you?
Yeah, I skipped that part. So I have access to a lot of private money from over the years. So me doing deals, people have come to me and said, "Hey, I want to invest with you." So they would fund my deals for flips, and then I got access to more money than I had deals. So then I would start lending that out to other investors, and I manage that process. So I have.
He was broker of the money. Almost.
Yes, I don't like that term, but yes.
Oh, I don't mean that in a negative.
No, but I know there's rules behind it.
Broker, is that bad? Is that bad to be?
No. It's just the way I do it. So I will take a promissory note from an investor directly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I owe them that. I sign a personal guarantee. I'm paying them off no matter
what.
what.
Wow. Okay.
And then if I have a deal that I'm going to fund, I will have a separate, secured mortgage and a note. So that's how I do it.
I was going to say, do they have a lien position on? It's your personal guarantee that shelters that. So there's no position on the real estate.
Most are comfortable with that. I have a couple that are insistent on having that mortgage, but most of them just believe in Dan. So
I love that.
Yeah.
How long did it take from you borrowing the private money to becoming the lender? How long did that take? How many years?
Probably. It wasn't that long, 3 or 4 years. Because then I told you earlier, I was originally investing my own self-directed IRA, and I am today. But I would do deals, like I would be able to fund maybe a deal or fund part of the next deal, and I would need their money. So I have pretty good statistics on the performance. I've done over 150 hard money loans and have never had a default. So.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much maximizing everything that you can, every avenue in real estate. I mean, you're the property manager, you're the contractor, you're the lender, you're the buyer, you're the flipper, you're the holder. Like it's pretty incredible what you've built over how many years you've been in it?
Since 9 years now.
9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gone quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little more gray than I did when I started. But yeah, I love the integrated company that we have. I mean, we're paying somebody, so you might as well pay yourself.
Yeah, and we talked about that too. It's when we talk to the newbies. I need a new word for that, but the people getting into it. It's a team. It's how strong your team is. Like we have a team of CPAs, lawyers.
Oh yeah.
Contractors, and then eventually you become what you can, which is the contractor and the manager and things like that. And it's also your network. Because whoever you're talking to or who you come across, you tell them your intention, which is I want, like you said, originally flips in the North Hills, and that's what the opportunities started to come to you. Now you're putting out there, you wanted, what was it, a couple hundred units. Now you have over 400
complexes or more. Yep.
And now, the next thing that you're putting out is you want 500 more?
I want to get to, I'm looking at more asset value now.
Okay.
So right now, and it's not 100% owned by me, but we have about 30 million in assets. Our next goal is 50.
Okay.
So that's
we're putting it out there.
We're putting it out there. So yeah, we're looking to grow the asset base, but one thing I would like to add is, while it's great that we have all these integrated companies, there's a fine line between that and chasing the shiny penny and having your hand in too much and not being focused. I could not have all these companies without, number one, some vendors like you mentioned, CPAs, and business partners even. I'm partners with the guys from City Life. They're a big part of what we do. I mean, Casey over there just helped me interview a potential CFO candidate that we're looking to hire. Business partners are huge. One of my legacy lenders, he's the one that sponsored the loan for these 305 units. I mean, my lenders, I couldn't be here without my lenders. All the employees that I have. I mean, it's pretty fun. It's a team sport for sure, and I'm very humbled that I have so many good people and mentors. The first boss I ever had out of college is one of my biggest lenders.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw you had made a video about that, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's a big part of my life. I mean,
that's awesome.
He knew much more immature Dan, for sure. I remember driving into like the first day of work. I had a little Honda Civic hatchback with the big subwoofers, and I'm banging rap music coming in.
Yeah.
And he always makes fun of me. And like, I was like, "Where's my company car at?" Because I had a company car right out of college. It was pretty cool.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he's the first time he went. You probably saw it. The first time he went to hand me a check, it was $60,000. His hand was shaking.
Yeah.
I said, "You okay with this?" He was like, "Just take it before I change my mind."
Wow.
Now him and his wife, they invest with me.
No, they
Or like
believe
take
in you.
more. Let's make more money
Yeah.
off this money.
Yep.
Oh, it's pretty inspiring, at least from my view. You know, it is possible as long as you have a good team, good mentors, people that believe in you, but you're also honest and you have your word, which is why they invested in you.
I mean, you know, I get chills when I talk about it, but my lenders will not ever feel a loss. Like, I'll sell everything I have.
Right.
To make sure, because people always ask me, when's enough, or, you know.
I emailed you that question.
Yeah, I mean, I am not.
Why put a cap on it?
I'm not. I actually started an LLC called No Finish Line. You know, that's
right?
Yeah. I don't
like
even know
that.
what I'm going to do with it. It might, whatever. But at the end of the day, I would not be where I'm at. I would not be able to build the trust or rapport. I'm not one of those persuasive salespeople. I wasn't even in my career. It was just like, do what you say you're going to do. It's that simple.
Same. I don't like that. I don't push anybody to buy anything.
Nope. But at the end of the day, people can feel that they're not going to lose with me. Like, I won't let it happen. So that's, and now I have a track record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's been deals I've lost money on.
Sure.
Many flips that I told you about the one
You
before.
did, but nobody else did, right?
No one did. No one else feels that. And I can absorb it. So it's fine. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. You have to never, ever, ever let a business partner or a lender lose, not even a penny, unless they had something to do. Like, if a partner does something stupid and they lost, then yeah, they'll
Right.
feel it. But
Nothing
for
you'll
most
let
of my
happen.
deals, I mean, I'm the operator. So
And
if
it's a
on me.
lesson. When you hit a bump in the road like that,
Yeah.
or you had to absorb, it's almost like a privilege that I'm able to make this failure. And I won't call it a failure. It was a lesson.
Yep.
You learned and you'll avoid whatever occurred that won't
100%.
happen again.
Yeah.
That makes you a better investor, educator, whatever. You'll have that in the back of your mind. You learn something from it.
Yeah. Whether you're a investor, bartender, it doesn't matter. I mean, you got to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
That's those are some core
It's
values
rare.
to live by.
It's very rare nowadays. Like I'm dealing with something, in a professional sense where someone didn't keep their word, and I'm feeling the brunt of that. And I just really appreciate what you said, how no one else will feel the loss, as long as I can stop it. So stay that way.
Hey, I've already, growing up where I grew up, I mean, I've already achieved way more than I ever thought I would. So I've already won. So there's no need to make money and not feel good about it. I want to be able to go to sleep at night.
Exactly. Another thing, I emailed you this question, or maybe I'm trying to think if I did, but it was the whole point of the real estate vehicle. Obviously, it's your passion, but I'm sure it frees up time for you that you wouldn't have necessarily if you were in the old job that you had. Is that what you're trying to achieve? Like, to have more time for your family, like with your loved ones, what you're trying, to live. You need to live life.
Sure.
With success, you need to live it.
100%. And I love the question. And it's funny, I don't have a lot of necessarily free time, but if I'm not with my wife or 2 daughters, I'm working. I love what I do. I mean, if it's a Saturday, like my oldest daughter, she's 13. She's a boxer. We're actually going. She has a Golden Gloves match tomorrow in
Oh my
DuBois.
God,
So we're
that's
going
so
out there.
awesome. Wow.
But she boxes every Saturday morning. My wife goes. She works out. She's super into fitness. And my youngest daughter loves dance with her cousins. And so they're gone from like 10 to 2, right? I cannot just sit around do nothing.
No.
I'm analyzing deals. I'm making process improvements. I might go visit some properties. That's when I set up my property visits to go look at new acquisitions. So I don't have a lot of free time, but it's by choice. I legitimately love what I do. And if I'm not with my girls, I'm doing real estate. And at the end of the day, I got to make sure I keep that in check, because I can go look at deals all day long. But, if I do it so much that, like, my girls one day they're not there anymore because I was working too much.
Yeah.
It was not worth it.
No.
Like,
It
that's
becomes
my
your
measure.
identity.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It does. And listen, I sometimes push it too far, but I'm very cognizant of that. Like, none of it is worth it if I don't have my girls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that balance I think is important. So would you say that in terms of balance and lifestyle, you had mentioned, did you use the term cheating on both sides of the deal? You know, I'm not going to put myself out there with this because I'm still working and working.
I don't blame you.
But yeah, that balance is so important, you know, because I'm married. I have a daughter as well. And see, for me, I think that the time that I have, you're never going to get that back, you know, but I'm sure in your sense with what you're doing, it has to be really rewarding too, because you're also helping other people achieve, you know, their
100%.
dreams as well, you know, through and achieve financial freedom in a arguably more passive way. Right. So I'm sure that that's very rewarding too. You know, I'm sure that you have really good relationships that you're going to have forever,
Absolutely.
you know, with those people.
Yeah. Very rewarding and stable, right? I mean, it's been crazy. You know, the past couple years. So my lenders love me, my business partners love me. But going back to what you said, listen, you're going to have to grind. You're not always going to achieve balance. I have pretty good balance now, but like in December and January, I know I pushed the limit on my wife and she let me know.
Yeah.
When I worked full time, like I was 35 pounds heavier because I had 2 full-time jobs. I really did. I mean, I was going to work all day, and then I was working. You know, I was trying to achieve something. And in my head, I was doing it for the family, but it wasn't good for them. You know what I mean? Like I was not there. I wasn't present when I was there. So it was a rough time, to be honest, you know, in my marriage and family. In my head, I'm doing it for them, but they didn't feel that. So you've got to be cognizant of that. And listen, you've got to grind and you've got to go through your pushes. But you also need to make sure that you do make time and are present for your family, because what are you doing it for if it ain't for them?
Yeah.
That's an eye opener there. You know, that's
definitely resonates.
It resonates. Very relatable. Yeah. So, I mean, would you say? I mean, so how do you wind down then? You know, I mean, what would you say? I mean, do you guys do you take a lot of vacations? Do you travel? I mean, what would you say? Obviously, I know you have 2 younger girls that are very active. So, I mean. What do you typically do, you know?
We'll watch some movies. But the biggest stress relief for me is just being with my youngest daughter. My youngest daughter, Stephanie, is 11. She has Down syndrome. She's like the gift I never knew I needed. Like whenever we had her, you know, there's a whole story to that, but like we didn't know that she had Down syndrome. She came out and I almost passed out. They had to give me smelling salts because I just had no idea.
Yeah.
And I could see it on her face right from the get-go, and I was like, my life is ruined. You know, I mean, that was legitimately what I thought, and I was wrong, and I grieved for probably 2 weeks. And ever since then, she's been smiling at me, and she's the one person that can disconnect me from the stress that I have. And I'm not, like, super stressed. I mean, there's certain things that put me in a stressful state. But, like, I'll pick her up from daycare, and she'll go, "You okay, Daddy?" And she knows, like she knows what's on my mind, and she can make me smile no matter what. She can walk into the room when I'm working at home. I used to work out of my house. Now we have 2 offices outside the house, but she would be able to come walk around my desk and get me to disconnect, like just even for 5 minutes, put her head on my shoulder. So like really it's all about them. You know what I mean? And I used to be a cheap bastard and not do the vacations, because I grew up, we didn't get vacations. You know, we got one every few years maybe. You know, we're going on 2 or 3 vacations a year, and like, you know, pretty, you know, big time vacations. So that's stuff we do and we have to look forward to. We do hang out with some friends and that we met through daycare, which was important. So it's just more family time, I guess, is the downtime.
It's the winding down time.
And then I network with other people. That can
relate.
Yeah. But masterminds, I have a couple different masterminds. I go down to Dallas every month, you know, for at least 10 months a year. I go down to Dallas. I actually bought a house down there that I'll Airbnb. I do Airbnb when I'm not there the first week of the month. And these are we call them our, family of choice. Like there's 150 other business owners. We get together every month, and it's not always, usually there's about 100 there. And I've just got really deep relationships with these people. They're all trying to achieve different things in different industries. They're not all real estate people.
Okay.
And so I'd say that's, we go learn, get better together, kind of where everyone's board of directors like together. You have your certain people you like. And I have a phenomenal mentor that I've met. He's 20 years older than me. Is a management company that manages, I think, over 2,500 or 3,000 units.
Wow.
He has 4 different brokerages. He's a lot, but he's like my guardian angel, and he's really helped me through this growth, because going from 10 employees to 20 has been eye-opening, to say the least. I had good processes. They've all been broken, just
Wow.
doubling in size on the employee side, and quadrupling the unit count has been a challenge for sure.
Wow. Well, you have 20 employees.
Including myself. I mean, we're up there. Maybe 18 right now, but we're hiring. We have a salesperson starting Monday.
Wow, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would that salesperson do? Okay.
Acquisitions, but starting out is going to be, because we had like 50 vacancies in that portfolio.
Okay.
So we're in lease mode big time. So he's going to do lead generation, and then we have a full-time leasing person out there.
Wow. Okay.
To run around and get those leased up.
Are you
quickly.
currently mentoring anybody?
I do mentor some people that I just like, but I've had paid mentorships. Right now, I'm not. So
Yeah.
it's
I always
not
feel
something I promote.
Right. There's always someone, like even like in like little old me, like I'm a real estate broker, and I have 20-year-olds that always pick my brain about
Yeah.
getting into the real estate agency, and you over time just form relationships with these people,
No
like
doubt.
you have with the guy you refer to as your guardian angel, and you kind of open their eyes to, yeah, you're here, but like just this exists over here that you can actually become. And you wouldn't be like, if you're not exposed to that. And that's kind of like what your guy does, and what I do to them is you expose them to potential, which is invaluable in my eyes, because I've had mentors who have exposed me to like what you can be.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I feel like I'm indebted to maybe help somebody else because I have been taught that.
Yep.
It's kind of like a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if you had someone close to you, like if that, like, are you?
So I formed really good relationships with people I lend to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not just a money guy. Like typically I have some bars that have just become like very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we do deals together, and I don't want to say I'm their mentor, but certainly I help reach maybe some bigger goals than they initially had for themselves, because I mean I can see it, I can spot it now. So when I see that potential, I'm pretty passionate about helping them push themselves, but not too far. But
Yeah.
but I love it. I mean, I've had a couple friends, I'm seeing their success, and that makes me feel so good.
It's fulfilling.
Yeah.
Even as small or as large it could be, someone realizing potential they have and actually getting to it is a great thing. So that's pretty cool. Bringing that up, are you speaking at any masterminds coming up, or meetings, or networking events?
I don't know if I have anything on the schedule. We just did the Pittsburgh RIA one earlier this month. Myself and Brandon Brittingham, he's one of my Apex exec mastermind friends, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. He has a real estate team. He's like number 1 in Maryland and Delaware, and number 5 in the country.
Wow.
He's got his own education arm and everything else, but he and I put on an Apex, which is the mastermind I'm in, real estate 1-day training and a digital course. And we sold over 100 people, and we had a 1-day little training, and we've gotten a lot of people that want either taught or mentored by us.
Sure.
So we're putting that all together now. So we are formalizing it a little bit more, because I can only accept so many free coffees, right?
Of course.
It's just not,
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
the time for it. I would love to.
Yeah.
But it's just not scalable at all. And I actually, so
Free
a lot of people that teach, don't do anymore, right? They see how lucrative teaching is, and they don't actually do deals anymore.
Sure.
That's what a lot of those people that travel to the RIAs, all they do is educate, because it's lucrative and there's no risk.
Sure.
And they're teaching strategies that are maybe 5-10 years old. It's not even applicable right now. But
Wow.
So it's something that I am passionate about, but I'm doing. I can't take my focus too much off of actually acquiring bigger deals.
Yeah. Okay, so this is in Pittsburgh that you're going to be doing this event with your guy from Maryland?
No, we did that, and that was in Dallas.
You did that in Dallas?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
And we're going to do a second one, I think, maybe later in the year, maybe August or September.
What's that specifically called?
It's the Apex is the group. It's part of Break Free Academy, and I think it's Millionaire Investing Mindset or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking for myself. I'm asking so I can show up.
Awesome.
So I don't know where
I'll
where
send
is
you
it,
the
when.
deets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys don't know, like, there's a mastermind. There's a big event coming up in June, and this is really what got me started and got me involved in Break Free Academy, or Apex is what the actual mastermind's called. It's called $1 Million Mastermind. It's in Frisco this year. It's a 3-day event. They're having huge people there, like Sean Whalen, Ed Milet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they're having some big names there. Eric Thomas, a lot of these motivational guys
I've heard
are
of
all
him.
speaking there, and it's going to be insane. There's going to be like 5,000 people in attendance.
Oh, wow.
So I would highly
awesome.
recommend
Okay.
going down there. It's not necessarily real estate based. They've like Kent Clothier's down there usually. I don't know if he is this year, but he's pretty networked with him and some other Cody Sperber, things like that. So
Honestly, it's your network, and that's what I'm trying to expand. Whether it's here or I'll fly wherever. As I've told you before, I have licenses in different states.
that's a can't miss
Yeah.
event, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be loaded up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I love that group. That's been life changing for me. I've been there. This will be my second renewal, so this will be my 3rd year I'm going into. It's expensive, but again, so much value. You get pretty much. They're not your board of directors, but they are. You just get a ton of people that are very successful. They're all doing 7-8 figures at least. There's a couple people doing 9-figure in revenue. These people are your friends, and when you have a problem, you realize no matter how big or small they are, they're running through the same issues. So you help each other solve them.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, events are great, but these masterminds really can help you.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. Absolutely. If we have time, I wanted to ask about your short-term. We talk about short-term rentals here a lot, and Michael has one in Madeira Beach. How do you want to talk about your Airbnb experience down in Clearwater? What to maybe avoid, or you'd warn, or
Sure. Well, we have I have 2 Airbnbs. One's in Frisco, Texas, and that's where I stay when I go down there every month. So I'll stay there, 4 or 5 days, and I'll Airbnb it out. Otherwise, I've actually had people that are waiting for their house to be built, rent it for 3 or 4 months. I really haven't been Airbnb-ing it, but they're paying me to stay there short term.
yeah.
So that's that. We have I partnered with some good friends and investors here in Pittsburgh. So we bought a house in Deep Creek. In that, I was just the passive guy. So I brought the money for the down payment. They found it. They signed on the line for the financing, and they manage it. So it's doing very well. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And then I bought a remote flip in Clearwater that went over time, went over budget. We're still dealing with it, and I was going to turn it into an Airbnb, and they were like, "That's a great idea. You'll make so much money." And I had my partners go down that are moving down there, and they went in. They're like, it's not Airbnb-able. It's not what people are going to want to rent.
Stay at.
Yeah.
And you bought this, you said, sight unseen?
Sight unseen. I bought it through some remote, wholesalers, if you will, but they supposedly have these great partners in other areas. And this was my first little test, and
Of a sight unseen purchase?
Of a sight unseen purchase, and someone else actually managing the operations. And I can tell you, this is why I have all my own companies, because you cannot. I'm very disappointed. I was definitely sold something that was not delivered, and they're definitely nowhere to be found now.
Is that right?
I mean, they'll respond, but they don't do anything about it. They just point the fingers at their partners, and it's really annoying. So I'm gonna have to. I was gonna send my carpenter down to finish up, but through my Apex network, I have a guy that has a GC, general contracting company down there. He's gonna get me hooked up.
Had you ever been down there before?
I still haven't seen it. No.
Have you ever been to Clearwater before?
I think so. We go to away games, Steeler away games all the time. So I was down in Tampa, so I think I went to Clearwater, but yeah, I don't know it intimately at all. But it's not a bad location. It's a little bit it's not the best street. But it's it's still going to sell. I mean, even with it not being fantastic, it's still going to sell for maybe 300 or 320, but I would like break even. I'll pretty much break even on it. But short-term rentals is not the way to go on this. So I'm just going to exit out of it, take the money and deploy it somewhere else.
Yeah, it's knowing when to fold. It's knowing when to walk away from a deal. It's not serving you.
Yep.
And getting rid of it.
Yeah, but I would be very weary about
trusting people.
Trusting people that you meet online that have this super cool, dynamic
charisma
set up with contractors in all these different cities. Like, I know how hard it is to find good contractors in Pittsburgh. So to have good contractors all over the country is probably too good to be true.
Yeah, people don't share their contractors. So if someone's like, "Oh yeah, we have a contractor. We'll take care of you," I'm like, I know right away. To me, that's a red flag when someone's willing to share their contractor. So, I mean, tell me if you disagree.
I will not share it.
Yeah.
I won't share it either.
I've had like pretty close people like, who do you use for this? The specialist I will give away.
Can't remember his name.
The specialist I'll give away, like the HVAC, the plumbers. You don't need them all the time.
Right.
But yeah, the ones that can do the actual like drywall and the pretty stuff, like you're not getting them.
Yeah.
And that's why I've just end up hiring myself, because it's even when you do find those contractors can do it all, like it's hard to keep them and retain them.
Sure.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind. To recap, if someone's willing to share the contractor, red flag. But
yeah, I mean, and listen, don't go buy property sight unseen.
Don't go buy property.
I tried it. It was a test. I like I said, I would never. If I take it on the chin, I take it on the chin. But
because you can, nobody new should go and do that.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
But
no.
yeah, I mean, I'll break even probably as a worst case scenario.
That's not bad.
Yep.
So, well, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, just to wrap things up
Yeah.
here. If you had, this is a typical interview question, right? So if you had one piece of advice, to give to somebody that is, kind of teetering along the lines, right? Real estate's changed your life. I'm sure that
No doubt.
So what piece of advice would you give to somebody that is just trying to start out, that might just be like, you know what, I'm scared. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't, it's a lot of money. What would you say to that individual?
Learn how to find deals, off-market deals specifically, right? Because it's the market. It's like if there's a good deal on the MLS, it's going to get blown up and it won't be a good deal anymore.
Sure.
So learn how to find deals, and you may not know how to operate or execute on that, but you can either wholesale it or you can partner with someone like us, right? Right? If someone brings you a good deal, I own a lot of units that other people have brought to me because they couldn't get financed, or they didn't have the right bank connections. So if you find a deal, you will create value that's tough to find right now.
Sure.
That's the biggest thing you can do, is add value, and that's right now it's finding good deals. So do that. Driving for dollars is one thing. Stay away from getting into right off the bat unless you have good budget. Don't go into like the direct mail or texting or cold calling, things like that, because you'll spend thousands of dollars and you may or may not know how to execute or close those deals. So do driving for dollars, go ride around, look for distressed properties. Again, be intentional, go talk to people, talk to realtors, talk to wholesalers, sign up for every wholesalers, Google We Buy Houses, North Hills or Newcastle or whatever the case may be, and get on all those buyers lists, and you'll start to evaluate these deals, and that'll be good practice for you.
Sure.
So finding off-market deals and evaluating deals, making offers, and make sure you make offers that you can 100% make money on.
Sure.
Don't make offers to get the house, right? Make offers that you're going to make money.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Fantastic.
Sweet. Well, thank you, Dan, for
Thank
taking
you.
time today.
I
This was
appreciate the invite. It
awesome.
was fun. Good to talk to you.
Thank you guys for watching episode 9 of Cashed In.